How you guys doing today? You tuned into About This Love podcast with myself, Dale, and my beautiful wife, Sherelle. Say what's up to the peoples.
What's up, people?
As always, you already know what I'm saying. Coming at you from Be More, where you can be more. That's a new tag for 2025. Be more where you can be more. I know she don't like that joint, but I love it.
We love it here at About This Love.
But I think on today's episode, we really wanted to focus on what we were doing in preparation just for marriage and our dating. And in the first two episodes, I mean, there were three. The first one we just gave a general statement about what we wanted to talk about, and then part two we talked about intentionality, and in part three we talked about just creating boundaries that would both protect you and the other person. But in today's episode, we really want to just talk about what we did to actually just prepare for a spouse. Because oftentimes I feel like people say that they want one thing, but there's no preparation in their life that really says that they want that. One of the things that I mentioned on last episode is just becoming what it is you want. You know, my wife spoke about briefly some of the things that she did and some of the things that she cut out in her life because she wanted to become what she wanted. Oftentimes, I feel like we want something, but we're not willing to become what it is we want. You know,
That's good. I'll start off with this. I mean, I had a good friend who was dating someone and they were saying how, they didn't like that the person did this and did that and engaged in these activities and kind of consumed certain types of media and content. But then as I'm listening, I was like, it actually had me stop and think about how did I feel like I was ready to even receive somebody who was in the Lord and also in a relationship. What were some things that I had done? And so that essentially had became my advice to my friend. And, we've heard this before from online therapists and self-proclaimed relationship gurus. What in you have you
corrected or what?
Well, not corrected, but what is it in you that keeps attracting those same type of people? And so when you say that, I mean, because, oftentimes we can get into like a victim mindset of like, well, this person did that to me. That person hurt me. My last relationship hurt me so bad. And it's like, oh, why are all these people, I'm a woman. So it's like, why are all these men this way? And it's just like, what in you keeps attracting that? And so when you bring it back to yourself, because we could scrutinize everybody all day long, but what is it that is in you that actually is attracting that or accepting that type of behavior or treatment or that type of person, like when you see it? And at the end of the day, you have to sit down, you have to flush some things out with the Lord. And I think when I felt that, like, okay, I think I'm ready to be married. I feel like I proclaimed to the Lord, like, I'm ready to be married. I felt like the Lord was like, okay, I got it. But now it's like you and I, like now we are going to walk some things out and work some things out. And not that I was like this perfect person at the end of walking out that season of singleness and being in waiting for my spouse. Not that I was like the perfect spouse, right? But I also, in my heart and mind, was prepared to be received by my husband, by my to-be husband. I think I was in a place in my heart. My mind was clear. I didn't have to, well, let me tie up some loose ends here and cut this person off and do this and that, or let me clean some stuff up because, the Lord's bringing my husband around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like we have this
Too much
baggage just on the surface level. And it's like, well, you sitting here praying for the Lord's best. The Lord not about to like give you his best for you to just tarnish it or like trash it. Now, if that then happens eventually, that's not on the Lord for sure. But you're sitting here praying for his best and he wants to give those things to you. Like he wants to bless you with the gift of having a spouse if that is what is written in his will for you in your life.
And if you're in a place to receive that.
And if you're
by having had done the work.
Exactly. And so I think during my season in waiting, like we had mentioned the last episode or maybe 2 episodes back, I had mentioned a couple who actually encouraged me to even want to be married and actually look for the Lord's best and pray for the Lord's best. And so from there, I kind of nosedived into like head first into, well, what is a godly marriage? Are there godly people out here who are like putting their marriage on display? It's funny you're mentioning Be More. There was actually a couple who was online sharing, and they're in Maryland. That's why I said, you mentioned Be More. They were in Maryland, and I was like, man, maybe one day I'll get to meet them. But I spent my free time consuming the materials that they had to put out there. Some of the things that they actually shared that they actually did in their marriage, I do in my marriage. Like the wife really was encouraging to me at that time because she was like, yeah, praying with your spouse and anointing them with oil while he's sleeping. Remember to pray for your husband. And I'm just like, okay, noted. Okay, noted. Because honestly, like I did not see a godly marriage in my upbringing. I mean, I think the Lord's intention is for us to have that within our homes, from
Model
our
before
own
us, yeah.
model before us within our homes. I had spoke about this in like first season of our podcast of like the process of enculturation, where the behavior, the mindset is so ingrained in our culture that you learn it through living, you learn it through
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
and you learn it through witnessing it, because people around you, your elders, your neighbor, they are all doing that. But because we have this generation of, we're coming from single mothers, we are coming from broken homes, we're coming from fathers being incarcerated, we did not get to see that. Or if we did see it, it's the grandparents. And then that's that whole, they were coming from that generation where we see that the wives, they stayed, but they stayed because they didn't have access, not because they were in love, and not because they felt a calling from the Lord to be married and walk in oneness. And so then it's like, well, yeah, we see their marriage, we see grandma and grandpa marriage, but we know that's a sham, and we know,
Yeah.
they just together just to be together. And so,
Well, what I was gonna say when you said that was that in some aspects, yes, it was a sham, but I think also too the pridefulness in us sometimes won't actually look at it and be like, well, while it may have been a sham, there was also some benefit to that as well.
yeah,
Because I mean, call it what you want to, but sham if it was or if it wasn't, but there was still a benefit to it in an aspect that may have been a family unit that
yeah,
in some aspects were successful. I mean,
for sure.
yeah, there may not have been love there, but but I don't want to, I don't want to go on rabbit trail. But one of the things that I feel like oftentimes happens to people who are waiting for the Lord to receive their spouse is that they grow weary. I know for myself, I was telling my wife, over the years that before I met my wife, I had gotten to a point in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm just cool if it was just me and the Lord. But I think that I got to a point where I was content if it was just me and the Lord. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
so desperate that I was out there. Like we was talking about today. We just came from a friend's house. We were all having dinner, and he was saying how he had said to his wife, like because they're like in their mid-40s. He's like, and they got married when they were like in their early 20s.
20s, yeah.
But he was just saying how I don't know, what I would be doing. He said, I feel sorry for sometimes when I see young men and young women who are, 40 some years old and they desire marriage because they come off at times being kind of desperate in what they wear, what they're doing. He was like, I don't know if I was in my, late 30s or early 40s and I had a desire to be married. I don't know what I would be out here doing. So I think that sometimes there's a layer of desperation that we get to, and in our desperation, we start doing things that we normally wouldn't do if we wasn't desperate. But I think for me, in wanting a wife, yes, I grew weary in that I would never, well, not never, I won't say never, but it felt as if I would never get a wife. But I didn't grow weary in the fact that I became desperate and just chased anything that was walking, that was cute or good on the eye. That aspect of it, I didn't grow weary. But yeah, I did grow weary to the point where I was like, Lord, I'm just cool if it's just me and you. And I think a lot of people who are actually, dating with the intent of marriage or desiring to date with the intention of marriage, if you're at that point, you're not alone. A lot of people who are married felt the same way. We actually know a couple who got married when they were in their 40s. So it's like, there's still hope. Don't grow weary and doing good. Don't grow weary. Don't give up. Because sometimes I feel like, you give up and then you end up in a situation where it's like, man, I'm actually worse off than I was, before. I wish I would have just waited. So I think that just to kind of prevent all that, just wait. Just wait, be patient. I know sometimes it feels as if that day would never come, and it'll come, then you'll be married for years and you just be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I was telling my wife I really enjoyed my time of being single. Like when I was single, now you got kids and kids living in the house. I love being a father. I love being a husband. I think back sometimes when I was unmarried, like, yeah, I really enjoyed my time being single. I say I see the benefit of having that time to be single and enjoying that time. And by enjoying that time, I'm not talking about out there sleeping with different women. No, I'm just saying just enjoying that time with the Lord and really getting to know myself and getting to know the Lord more.
Right. And I was there too. Before I met you, I think it was about 6 months before I met you, and I remember telling my good friend, I think we were like holding each other accountable to like what we're doing with our time. And I was telling her I had just got off of a fast, and I remember calling her, coming from a fast, you feel so good, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I got all these nuggets from the Lord, and and so it was coming from that fast, and this was probably like the longest fast I had done like to date, like by that time. And I remember calling her and I said, you know what? My mind has never been more clearer. And I feel like if it's just like me and you, Lord, it's just me and you.
Yeah.
And, until the end of my days. And I think in that season of waiting, that season was actually very necessary, not only to work on myself, but to really hone in on my relationship with the Lord. And I think the reason why the Lord kind of put me there in that season of waiting is really important. It added on to our marriage because while we were in marriage counseling, I got really offended at some advice I was given. I was told that, yeah, you're marrying this dude, and yes, he loved the Lord, but he's not mature enough to really walk you through some things on day one. And I was just like, what? I mean, that's why I'm marrying him. I feel like you're pretty strong in the Lord. Like, what you mean? And so I think it brought it back to reality when I started to see some things kind of unfold, not just in you, but within our marriage. Like, being married to you is not the end all be all. So the fact that like there are believers who idolize marriage, there are believers who think that life begins when I get married, and it's like, no, the Lord's been like, life begins when I give you life. Life ends when I take your life. Because, that's when you get people who say, if I can't, I can't breathe if you're not by me. And, we have these strong feelings. And hear me out. It's beautiful. It's poetic. And I mean, shoot, I wish we still walked around talking like that. You know what I'm saying?
But it's borderline.
But it's idolatry.
Idolatry is what it
It's
is.
idolatry because ultimately you can put your spouse above the Lord, which we do. And then once you see the reality of your spouse, the humanity in your spouse, and even in yourself, it's almost like, then we go back to the Lord. Oh, Lord, I mean, this surely couldn't have been the one,
Yeah, we were actually having that conversation today. Again, we was some friends' house, but we were talking about how oftentimes people put people in a high place that they don't belong. Whether it's a Chris Brown or a Diddy or Beyonce or whoever celebrity you want to use, we put them in a high place that they don't belong. At the end of the day, they're just a singer or an actor or a poet or a guitarist. That's it. But we, in our efforts to want to have something to idol worship, we put these members in a high position. And when they do things or do something heinous, we like, oh, can't believe how they would do that. He's just a singer. She's just a rapper. He's just a guitarist. Like you don't know these members personally. And I think that it's funny because like today we actually were talking about it. We were like, yo, like that's actually true. Like we don't think that way. Like these members are just regular people who have a position of notoriety, where it's like like I said, they're a person of notoriety. It's like, but they just like me and you. They just got millions of dollars, and everybody know who they are.
Hold on. They're not like me and you if they got millions of dollars.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
I think like that sometimes we can put not only our spouse also too, but men and women of God that we deem who are like the pastor or the apostle or the bishop or whoever. We can put people in a high position that God only really deserves. Like, yes, we should give people a level of honor,
And reverence.
always, and reverence, always. But at the end of the day, they're not God. You know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the things that I've had to wrestle with over the years. I tell my wife, sometimes when I've come across people in my life who know and love as believers and find out that they may have done something, foul, it's like, at the end of the day, like, they're just a man or a woman. That's it, and I'm getting more upset with myself for putting them in a high place that they don't deserve, or that they shouldn't be placed in. Me and my wife, we're on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you see us at or view us at, but don't put us in a high place. Like you don't know us personally.
Yeah.
Do not put us in a high place. I know it's human nature, but I'm telling you, don't put us in a high place. We're just people on the internet, giving our advice and just giving our experience about marriage as it relates to the Lord. But I think at the end of the day, that's as far as it should go as
Yeah.
it relates to how you view us.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, like I think that's what a lot of people are facing now. Like I feel like we're in a season where everyone that we kind of put as an idol are being brought down. And so not to go off topic, but we can do that with our spouses. And so kind of back to why I said like that season of being in waiting really should be a season where you are preparing, because once you come from the honeymoon phase, which we had determined through some different articles that it can get you through quite a few years in your marriage. But once you come off of that and you start to see the humanity in your spouse, God's like, yeah, I've been just waiting for you to like circle back.
Come down off your high.
Come back down. And, you know, I had to tell a family member a few years ago, I said, do you think I put my faith in Dale? No, I don't put my faith in Dale. Yes, I love him and I have hope that he would like achieve great things within that I could be a witness to and I could attest to and praise the Lord for. But, you know, the second I put my faith in you, like I've already lost, if that makes sense. And it's not like a win-lose thing, but I've already missed the mark in the Lord.
Yeah, I was gonna say
and I said, you know, because when this Bama fails me, when this Bama lets me down, when this Bama hurts me and breaks my heart, because let's be honest, we do not want to say it before we get married, but there will come a time where the person that you chose to spend forever with will break your heart repeatedly. And I'm sure I've done some things or said some things that is heartbreaking to you. So I'm not like, you know, just saying that. Yeah, I'm not trying to villainize you at all.
But you are though, but continue on.
Well, you know what I'm saying? But honestly, like it's when that happens, it's almost like the Lord is reminding you that this is like the thorn in the side, but it's also a reminder that, oh yeah, I need to go back to you, Lord. He cannot be my everything. And yes, all the love songs tells you that you want that. I want him to give me the world, or, you know, I give you the world. I want to be your everything. And, you know, and it's like I said, I want to love that poetic side of marriage. I do. I mean, my friend told me a few weeks ago, oh, you're such a hopeless romantic. And I'm like, I am, man. I really am. But the Lord had to break me down off of that. And it's just like, you know, you can't live there because you're going to be disappointed every time. And not that there's not like sweet moments, and not that there can't be a lot of sweet moments, but then it's like, oh, I still got to check in with you, Lord. And I think that's what's helping us carry it through. You ever see that movie, Not Easily Broken?
I feel like I had something familiar.
Yeah, it's with Taraji and what's his name?
Tyler Perry?
No, this is not Tyler Perry. This is before Tyler Perry was cranking out movies left and right. Let's see. It was Taraji and he's kind of bald.
T.D. Jakes movie?
Yes, T.D. Jakes movie.
I have seen it.
And so something about it.
In, The Brothers?
I don't remember if he played in The Brothers or not, but I cannot. Morris Chestnut.
Yeah, playing Brothers, yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
I don't quite remember. And you know, I know movies.
He give you the last piece of food, then he loves you. That joint?
No, that was in The Brothers,
that was
yes.
Chestnut, yeah.
Oh.
Hughley.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. See, we got to have a movie night. Yeah, but, excuse me. So, in that movie, it was something so, like, it comes off cliche, but it was very pivotal. During their wedding, T.D. Jakes was, like, their pastor in that movie. And so, he had married the two. And he had kind of put, like, a rope around them or a shawl or something kind of tying them together. And so, he was like, you know, this represents the Lord. That has to be the one that keeps you together. And you see in the movie, and yes, I know it's like depicting it, but I'm like, no, I know it's a movie and they're acting this out, but you see how they played it out in the movie where the Lord has to be your foundation and your anchor. And while in waiting, if you are not making the anchor in your life, it's what did we say earlier? Like, if I'm not making the Lord an anchor in my life, when we separate from one another, as far as when my spouse goes to work, when he goes to hang out with friends, when he goes to visit family, everything in this world we already know naturally pulls us apart from one another.
Yeah.
What are you meditating on? What is holding you in this marriage?
Because you said to me earlier, you would hate for me to have to I guess you to tell me one day, like, hey, I ain't happy in this marriage. Yeah,
I mean, and be completely blindsided if I come back from work, like I work 7 days a week, and one day I just come back from work and I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this marriage. And it's like, what happened? I thought we was good. Well, the Lord's not my anchor. I hadn't been faithful even to the Lord. Of course I won't feel like I can be faithful to you. Even if I lacked faith at some point, because we all struggle or waver
Yeah.
sometimes. And that's why you have the scriptures that encourages you to do well, grow weary and
Yeah.
well doing. We have scriptures in James. Remember when I was saying I was just feeling kind of a certain way? You referred me back to James. That was the Lord's strength within you that was able to redirect me back to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think if you didn't have that faith and I was sitting here like kind of low in an area or in a season, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be able to redirect me as my spouse.
And also too, like I think really, to the audience, really goes back to like when you're desiring a wife or a husband, are you actually doing the work to prepare yourself to receive him or her? And I feel like oftentimes, like, because I've just heard different people talk about wanting to be married and wanting a wife or a husband, but then they say things like, "Well, I don't trust nobody," and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I
scratching my
said
head,
that.
like, you don't trust nobody, like, so why do you want to get married then if you don't trust nobody? And while it's good that you can identify why you don't trust anybody, I think the real work is required. Well, why don't I trust anybody?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that you have to and should investigate with a counselor or a therapist or a pastor, somebody in your life who you look up to. You know what I'm saying? I think that oftentimes in the Black culture, it's taboo to go see a therapist. But it's like, if you're somebody that's saying that you desire marriage and you also can say, I don't trust nobody, I don't think marriage is something you should be thinking about at that particular time. Put that marriage on the back burner and you focus on or investigate why you don't trust, kind of with the help of a therapist or a counselor, somebody walking with you, figure out why don't you trust somebody, you know what I'm saying? Or why don't you trust people? And that's kind of the work of the preparation that most people don't do. Some people do it, but a lot of people, they don't do it until they come into a marriage or a relationship with issues or baggage. And I will say, when we got married, a lot of the men of God told me, yes, there will be some things, that you enter into marriage with, that your spouse is going to unfortunately be affected by whatever has husband to you. That's husband and wife. That's just human nature. But
Yeah.
it's some things that, if possible, you should work on as much as you can. And I think the very foundation of any relationship, especially a marriage, is built on trust. So if you can say, I don't trust anybody, then why would you want to get married at that particular point in your life?
Yeah.
Why? What's the point?
Well,
Is it, are you looking for financial help? You looking for help with the kids? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Questions that I would ask myself.
Well, I want to say this because I was one of those ones in my early 20s. I think that I said that. I remember I said it to whoever was in the room with me. At the time, my mentor, who had been married, she got married really young. She came from that generation. They had children young. They got married young. So, and I remember she walked into the salon, sat in my chair, and she said to me, "Hey, what's going on with you?" And I was like, "I want to be married, but I don't feel like I trust anybody." And I remember like this other girl in the chair across was like, "Well, then why would you want to get married?" Like saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain it. But then she jumped in and said, "Well, your desire to be married doesn't go away. Like your desire doesn't go away. But, because there's so many things to not trust. And, no one has shown you either how to trust or shown you that they can be trustworthy, is why you have that like insecurity." And she's a therapist. She was a therapist. She's since passed. But, I remember that conversation and I was like, okay. So she validated, she said what you said as well. Like, yeah, I don't think you should get married. But then again, it's like, who you in a relationship with? Like, it was almost like, you talking to somebody? Are you talking to, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I get it. When you start to have those insecurities, even with the person that you're engaging with and trying to consider, is this the one? Is this the Lord's best for me? I think that being prayerful about, Lord, make it clear. Please make
Yeah.
it clear to me. And also, like you said, work on yourself and Lord, help me through this. because like I said, I think I still probably dealt with a little bit of that distrust. And I feel like, kind of back to what I said before, I feel like on day one of meeting you, I felt like I heard the Lord say it clearly to me. And that might have been the Lord making it clear for me so that I
To prepare
can,
your heart.
to prepare my heart.
Yeah.
Not that I needed to do anything as far as like making sure you seen me and making sure you knew I'm
I
wife
saw you.
material. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to do anything extra to prove to you that I'm your wife and the Lord, orchestrated this. And no, but I think that the Lord said that knowing that I probably just needed to hear that. So then I could be open to receiving you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on our next episode, we're gonna really dive into God will send you a husband or wife, but it won't be in the package or the form that you may think that you want or what you like or your preference. I think that that's kind of what we'll focus on the next episode, because I feel like oftentimes I hear people say, well, he got to be this or she got to be that. And I'm like, so if God sends you somebody that's not what you just said, you totally miss them. And I feel like that's an issue, because it's like God not gonna send you what you want. God's gonna send you what you need. And I feel like, my wife was something that I needed and didn't know that I needed, what I'm saying, and vice versa. So I feel like, I'm glad that whatever purpose that I had, that I didn't allow that to my mind to be closed off to what God had presented before me. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. We really enjoyed the conversation. I'm talking about marriage. My sister-in-law is actually about to get married. I've been actually like kind of excited. Hey, I'm gonna get married. I don't know. I like young love. I like young love. It's just like, marriage is like, it's bittersweet. It's sweet because it's like, yo, you finna start life together with somebody. That's your person. And the bitter part is like, y'all gonna clash like crazy just because of the differences that two people just have when they come together. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's like, because in that clashing, like early on in our marriage, I feel like we did like a lot of, not, I won't say petty, but got mad about a lot of small stuff. But like now you think, like, man, I don't even care. Like now, like 10 years later, I've been with my wife. It's like I look back and I'm like, man, why would I trip about that for? Like, I care. Like, I don't even, my point is, all of that is that I don't take it personally anymore. You be like, whatever. Just kind of just roll off your back like water on a duck's back. So thank you guys for tuning into today's episode. As always, you can find our episode anywhere where podcasts can be ingested. If you want to watch the video, check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, TikTok. Until next time, peace.
Peace.